Hey there, welcome to day 8 of the Get Up and Go Challenge, change reaction. Of course, this is a chain, and a chain reaction isn't necessarily the same thing as a change reaction, but we're going to talk about a change reaction today. We all know a chain reaction is something happens, and then all kinds of whole series of events go into play and fall into place almost immediately, almost automatically in a chain reaction. But in a change reaction, we have a little bit more control. So today, we're going to talk about something we touched on a little bit on day 2. Day 2, we talked about our immediate response to the COVID crisis. How do we respond? And we rated it. Our tool that day was to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 being, hey, it just happens just like anything else, no big deal. We just went about our life as if, pretty much as if nothing had happened. To 10, meaning we freaked out, we did all these things that we normally experience when we're faced with a change, especially a change that's outside of our control. So what do we do? And what we're going to look at today specifically is, how have you responded? Well, maybe currently still, but in the past for sure. How have you? And our tool today is to go back and to investigate, to get curious about, to inquire, to ask questions, to look at how we have dealt with challenges and changes in the past. And then tomorrow we're going to take that a step further. We're going to say, okay, well, that's how we've done it before. Is that in our best interest? Is that the best way? And then we'll start to introduce a better way, a more proactive way of dealing with changes and challenges. But before we can look at that and even consider it, we need to see, what do we do now? How do we respond now? What do we currently do when we're faced with a change or challenge? There's no good or bad way of dealing with things, and we never want to go back and beat ourselves up for how we did things in the past. Have I dealt with challenges really badly in the past on certain occasions? Absolutely, positively. But once we learn and we know better, then we can do better. Until we learn something isn't working for us, then we continue to do what we've always done. So today we're going to list out, and we're going to go back and we're going to look at, and we're going to think for a couple of minutes. We're going to investigate and dig into ourselves, because guess what? The coolest subject on the planet is you, right? The person we want to know the most about, the person that's most fascinating to us, is ourselves. And so we want to look back in our life and our experiences and say, well, how have I handled challenges in the past? And I looked at this last night, and I started to make a list of how I do it, and I'm going to grab it, my little notebook or my little Post-it note and a magnifying glass. And this is some of the old or current, because I still fall prey to this on certain occasions with certain types of change. I would resist the change, right? If it was something that I didn't want, or I didn't really feel like I wanted to do the work or was in my best interest, I would fight against it. I would push back. I would resist that change. So instead of being a 3 like COVID was for me, it was probably more like a 9 or a 10 when certain type changes came down the pipe. I would deny or ignore the change. I would try to pretend that it didn't exist. I would complain or act like a victim. I would think that life wasn't fair, that this just wasn't a fair situation, and that I was a victim in the situation. I would get upset. I might get very angry or negative about the situation. I would look for ways out. I would look for a way out so that I could avoid again or ignore the change and the challenge that was in my way. I would procrastinate. I still procrastinate sometimes. Sometimes I just don't want to do something, or I don't feel like doing it, and because it's usually not the right thing for me to do, and I will find ways to procrastinate. I'll make excuses. I will assess blame. I will blame somebody else or something else or some other thing for why I can't deal with the change right now. I'll make excuses. I'll whine and bitch and moan and complain, because sometimes we all do that. And sometimes I'll do nothing. I might get frozen and actually take no action whatsoever. So maybe you've experienced some of those things in different changes and challenges in the past, maybe not. This is just my list. And our challenge today is to go out and look at that list for you. How do you tend to handle challenges that you're faced with, changes that you're faced with? I'm always experiencing some challenge or another, but I'm currently having a physical challenge with my vision, and I need to deal with it. Yet I find myself doing many of these things as I need to take the next step in dealing with that particular set of circumstances and challenges for me that are unique to me. I need to solve that problem for myself. Nobody else can solve it for me. People can advise me, people can give me guidance, people can help, but I am the one that ultimately has to take action and do something about it. So today, all I want you to do, I'm going to keep it short today, is make this list. Just make a list for you and be 100% honest. You're not going to share this list. You don't have to show anybody. You don't have to tell anybody. You don't even have to admit it to anybody except yourself. But part of personal growth and development, part of creating improvement in our lives in any area or aspect of our life, is actually being brutally honest with ourselves and saying, hey, yeah, I whine and complain. I avoid, I resist. I've done all these things probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times, given different situations. And so we just want to look at it and say, well, this is how I've done it in the past. Again, no judgment. It just is what it is. The past is one of those things that we're supposed to learn from, not beat ourselves up about, and definitely not relive over and over again. But we do want to take little journeys back when we want to investigate, try to understand, get curious about what we've done in the past. And if you want to dig deep and really explore why you've done it, you can always find reasons for why you've done what you've done. We always do what we think is in our best interest in our subconscious and conscious level at the time that we do it. We don't ever do things that we think are going to lead to bad things for us or are going to harm us in any way. We do what we think is right at the time. And I mean right as in right for us. I mean, a murderer will say, well, I thought it was the right thing to do at the time. Well, maybe it was the right thing to do at the time. I can't even fathom that one. But the point is, we do what we do. We've done what we've done. It doesn't matter. We can't change that. But we can change from this moment on. And that's what we'll look at tomorrow. So today, look at your old process of handling challenges and changes. What have you done? Write down, just brainstorm a list of all the kinds of interesting things you've done. Get curious about it and, be fascinated in yourself, because you really are a fascinating being. And what makes you tick and how you tick and why you tick is, the more you dig into that, the more fascinating you are and the more you want to dig into it. And then for our action item today, just share one thing that you learned by doing this exercise. I said share one positive and one negative thing, but maybe just one thing you've learned about your past way of dealing with it. And has it worked for you? Obviously it's worked for you because you're listening to me today, but could you have maybe saved yourself some pain and some suffering and some time and some energy and some missteps and doing the same thing over and over and over again, kind of feeling like you're on a hamster wheel sometimes because, like me, you were procrastinating or making excuses or just not dealing with a situation. And then all of a sudden it gets to the point where you have to deal with it, you deal with it, and then you find out, oh my God, it was no big deal. And I did all these things for nothing. I caused myself all this stress, doubt, worry, fear, anger, and regret and behavior that just took a ton more time than if I would have just dealt with it. It would have been a non-issue. So that's it. Have an absolutely amazing day. Go have some change reaction, and I'll be with you tomorrow with another lesson and another challenge in our Get Up and Go challenge.